Jeff the Killer. A noseless man with an eternally smiling bloody mouth and a pale face. Jeff the Killer is a character in a story of the same name in the internet folklore genre, creepypasta. A little about Jeff the Killer. To date, Jeff the Killer has become one of the biggest icons of the creepypasta genre, rivaling such a well-known character as Slender Man. Is one of the few in the genre that originated with the image. First featured in 2008 on the entertainment website Newgrounds by user Killer Jeff. Stories began appearing on creepypasta sites around October of that year, when a user with the nickname Cesar uploaded a 2.5-minute video to YouTube explaining the fictional backstory of how he got his appearance. After that, numerous stories, short stories, and comics about Jeff the Killer began to spread rapidly through various forums, stories about his face, motives, and methods of murder. Before he became a psychopathic killer, Jeff was an ordinary teenager, friendly and affable. Afterward, everything changed in the opposite direction and he became a vengeful, dangerous, and bloodthirsty sociopath. Appearance. Jeff has extremely pale skin and scorched eyelids, which makes him even more ghostly. His lips have turned scarlet and there are black circles around his eyes. 2 holes are all that is left of his nose. His distinguishing feature is his smile. Glasgow on his cheeks is self-made. Has long dark hair and blue-colored eyes. He has third-degree burns, meaning 56% of his body was damaged. His build is usually described as slender yet trim, with a height of between 1.5 and 1.8 meters. Clothing usually consists of a pair of black jeans and a white hooded sweatshirt, sometimes stained with fresh and old blood of his victims. As a weapon, he mainly uses a regular knife. He is also in good physical shape, has high reaction and movement speed, is intelligent and well-oriented in stressful situations. Jeff the Killer's history as a character. There are 2 main versions of who Jeff the Killer is, how he got this appearance and became a maniac. Fan version, reboot. The canonical version was created in 2008, based on a video posted by a user with the nickname Cesar. He is considered the creator of the character, his image and the owner of the original image of Jeff. The story grew with new details, added and rewritten by other users. The character gained popularity, and so it went on until 2015. This year the site, Creepypasta Wiki, announces the deletion of this story, for the fact that it is allegedly poorly written, has many inconsistencies and claims from readers. But since the character was one of the most popular at the time, a contest is held for the right to completely rewrite the character's story. Won the contest Banning Callum, and then made a complete reboot of the final history of Jeff the Killer. The main differences between the 2 stories of Jeff the Killer are his name. In the original version his name is Jeffrey Hoddock, in the fan version his last name is Woods. Age. Jeffrey Hoddock was born on September 22, 1982, he was already 25 years old when the story began. Jeffrey Woods was born in the year 2000, he is 15 years old at the time the story begins. He got his burns, according to the 2008 version, when he accidentally spilled chemicals on himself. In the 2015 version, it happened during another scuffle with local hooligans when he was hit in the face by the flash of a flare gun. Unlike the relaunch version, he never killed and could never have killed his parents and younger brother. Likewise, he didn't kill children, believing them to be innocent creatures, and only dealt with bad people, criminals, thieves, and robbers. In the canonical version, his phrase to accompany the murder is "It's joy." In the new version he says, "Go to sleep," before the murder. The canonical story of Jeff the Killer. It was 2008. Jeffrey's younger brother Lou was working at the time. Jeffrey himself had never worked before, his brother had always asked him to start earning money himself, but he would only refuse and avoid answering. It happened that his first job was the reason for who he is now. Jeff needed to clean the shower and toilet pipes, which were clogged. The plumbing in the house was in terrible condition. The decision was made to buy some sulfuric acid and pour it into the pipes to eat away the clog that had formed in the bathroom drain. He opened the bottle and poured the remedy into a bucket. The acid stank, so he decided to hold his breath and carefully transfer the acid into the bathroom, after pouring the contents into the pipe. The bathroom floor was partially flooded, the soap dish was lying on the floor. Carelessly, Jeff steps on it and slips. Acid pours out onto his face and neck. The acid got into his eyes, making him see everything in a red light. Then he fell to the floor, screaming in terrible pain and lost consciousness. Jeff woke up already in bed. His face was completely covered with bandages. It throbbed and burned, but it didn't hurt as much. After a while, Lou took him home. Already at home, Jeff was taking off the bandages. The doctors had not done a very good job, his face looked terrible. His brother tried to calm him down, but Jeffrey was angry and depressed. Jeff could not come to terms with his appearance. It seemed to him that society rejected him and considered him ugly. Because of this pressure and insecurity, he slowly went insane. They think I'm a freak? I'll show them a freak, he says to himself. And then, he completely loses his mind. He grows long hair to cover the damage. He uses hydrogen peroxide to bleach his unnaturally pink face and cuts his cheeks from ear to ear, thus making a horrible bloody smile. The first thing Jeff decides to do after becoming a monster is to scare the neighbor boy who keeps the lights on in his room at night. That little bastard needs to sleep, he says, the 2015 fan version of the Jeff the Killer story. In 2015, 15-year-old Jeff Woods was moving to a new town with his family. Jeff wasn't happy about the idea, but he had to get over it. A week after the move, Jeff and Lou decided to take a bike ride around the city to familiarize themselves with it. That day they met a group of local hooligans and a scuffle broke out between them. Jeff and Lou tried to resolve the conflict peacefully, but the kids Randy, Keith and Troy were hostile. Lou insulted Randy, Keith punched him in the face, and a fight ensued. Lou stopped it, warning him that the video store clerk had witnessed the whole thing and was frantically talking to someone on the phone, most likely the police. Jeff and Lou fled the scene and thought the case was closed, but as they return home they see 2 police cars parked outside their home. Jeffrey and Lou are charged with assaulting Randy, Troy, and Keith. Jeff tries to explain the problem to his parents, but they don't believe him. Allegedly, there are several witnesses who report that he was the one who started the confrontation between Randy and his friends, and that they saw Jeff instigate the violence by hitting Troy first. Jeff tries to explain the problem to the officer, but he ignores everything he says. The guys get their first warning and the threat of an arrest record if they do it again, and they also have to apologize to the 3 bullies. Because of the situation, Lou is sent to his aunt's house in another town for a while. Thus, Jeff is left alone. The tension between him and his parents grows. He feels resentment for them not believing him. One Saturday morning, his mom makes Jeff visit Randy and befriend him. At Randy's house, Jeff goes to his room and talks to him. Randy and Jeff bond briefly and begin to become friends, learning that both of their fathers share similar traits and realizing that Randy hates the position he is in now. Afterward, Randy calls Jeff to the garage to show him something cool. On the way, Jeff starts to feel uncomfortable. In the garage, Randy shows him his father's signal gun and loads it, then Troy and Keith arrive there. Randy tells him that they are going to beat him up as revenge for what happened earlier. Jeff and Randy picture. Jeff and Randy. Randy points a gun at him. Jeff's anger grows, and he decides that the only way to resolve the situation is to fight back. Jeff breaks Randy's nose and knocks him to the ground, then he punches and incapacitates Keith and Troy. Randy gives up. At this time, his parents come home and Randy panics that he will be scolded for taking his dad's gun without asking. He desperately tries to remove the cartridge from the gun, but it slips out of his hands and discharges on impact with the ground, launching a flare into Jeff's face, burning his entire left side. An ambulance arrives and Jeff is injected with morphine, which puts him to sleep. He then wakes up in the hospital with a bandaged face, and is angry because it was technically his mother's fault when she dragged him to Randy's house. Also, Randy tells the police and medical staff that Jeff found the flare gun himself in his garage and negligently shot himself. The 2015 version of Jeff pictured at myfistoria.info. The 2015 version. Jeff is furious, not only that Randy and his friends are lying about what happened, but also that his parents agreed and believed every word. While in the hospital, Jeff begins to fantasize about how he will take revenge on everyone who is guilty. Jeff sees his deformed face for the first time in the reflection of a mirror. His entire left side was burned and part of his hair was burned off, his left eye was blinded, and there was a dark burn where his mouth was, looking like a ghastly smile. Upon returning home, Jeff acts strange and withdrawn even towards his brother. Lou even tried to beg his parents to throw a celebratory dinner in honor of Jeff's return, but his mom told them to just go to bed. At night, Jeff removed the bandage from his face and went to his parents' room with a knife. There he killed them out of anger and revenge for not listening, neglecting, and disbelieving him. His mother tried to talk him into sparing her, but instead Jeff told her to take her own advice to go to bed. Jeff then proceeded to stab his mother countless times. Afterward, he went to Lou's bedroom and woke him up to say goodbye and that he loved him. Excited from waking up, Lou simply told Jeff that he loved him too and fell back asleep. Then he left the room and disappeared into the night. Character creator's opinion on the reboot. In an interview with the character's creator, Cesar reveals that he didn't like what the fans did to Jeff the Killer. He states that Jeff would never kill his brother, Lou, or his parents. He was also disappointed with the fact that fans think he is a teenager, as the character was originally intended to be more mature and not a child. Cesar had hoped when he first created the character in 2008 that he would be famous and become a phenomenon on the internet, but when he finally became popular in 2011, felt insulted and found that the fanbase was anti-fame, seeing as how his original story had been almost completely remade. Cesar character creator. Jeffrey Hoddock, according to the creator. For a while, Cesar felt that he didn't get enough recognition for all that he did because people didn't recognize that he was the creator of the character, but after a while, when people started to realize this, he became more appreciative. Interesting facts about Jeff the Assassin. Interesting. Some fans believe that Jeff the Killer can be easily summoned by performing some special ritual similar to summoning a Bloody Mary. You can find many instructions on the internet on how to do this. Interesting. Fans also argue about whether Jeff the Killer exists in reality. In the network, there is information that a boy with a similar biography existed in reality, but he did not become a killer. Interesting. According to the fan version, Jeff liked killing children the most. Sneaking into the bedroom, he would silently watch the victim while sitting by his bedside. If the child wakes up, he would put a knife to their throat and tell them to keep sleeping. If the child falls asleep, Jeff continues to watch. If he pretends to be asleep, he begins to strangle the victim. But if the child panics and tries to call for help, instantly steams up the belly or slits the throat. Interesting. Many of the fans believe that Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams is Jeff the Killer's theme song. Interesting. Jeff Killer's song, So What If I'm a Psycho? Interesting. The most famous addition to the story is Jane the Killer. It tells about a girl, Jane, who lived in the neighborhood and with whom Jeff was in love. But parents forbade them to communicate, then the young psychopath killed them, and Jane vowed to avenge their deaths. Later in the fire, she also suffered facial injuries.